Event Mode. 51 carefully crafted Super Smash Bros. Melee challenges. You probably played all of these events at one point or another because they were required to unlock Final Destination. Yes, while in later entries Final Destination was unlocked from the very beginning, Melee really made you work for it. Some of these events are frustratingly difficult, while others are downright absurd. So today we're going to be ranking all 51 Melee events from worst to best. Trouble King 2 is the worst Melee event. In it, you fight a giant Bowser as Luigi. You both have 2 lives and you're on pokey floats for some reason. These giant fights just do not work. I think that the devs really liked the idea of having fights against giant opponents and ignored how clunky they were in execution just because they were cool. The way to win is to just have the giant Bowser mess up and fall off screen. And since he's so big and clunky, it's probably gonna happen. You can kind of cheese it and win super quickly by just grabbing and back throwing over here on Squirtle's arm. Dino Wrangling is an event where you fight a giant Yoshi. Again, giant battles don't work. While this one can't be cheesed like Trouble King 2, since this is one of the first events, the difficulty is set super low so you can win without breaking a sweat. Gargantuans. Another battle against a giant opponent. This time, you're giant Bowser and you're going up against giant Donkey Kong. I like the Godzilla and King Kong motif, but these giant battles are just awful. You basically just need to smack DK around and hope he falls in between the buildings. Also, for some reason, there's a tiny black clothes Mario and yellow dress Peach here who just die in one hit. And they can even be hit by the giant Donkey Kong, so usually they don't even touch you. I have no idea why they're here. Hot Date on Brinstar. Finally, not a giant battle. This one is odd. On the surface, it's just a normal battle against Samus, but for some reason you have 102% and Samus has 130%. Kind of strange numbers. I don't understand why they designed it this way. Lord of the Jungle. Not exactly a giant battle, because in this one, you're the giant, but not your opponent. You play as Big DK against a Little DK. They didn't do much to really even the playing field here, so you just kind of demolish your opponent here. Not very fun. Game & Watch Forever. I've never been a fan of the bunch of enemies that die quickly thing in Smash Bros. This one forces you to play as Game & Watch, which means you can't do this one strategy where you play as Donkey Kong and just do a down special, which is the auto-win button for matches like these. Even though it doesn't let you cheese, it's still not an enjoyable event. Mario Bros. Madness. You just fight Mario and Luigi. No gimmick. For some reason, this is a time match. Most of the regular battles in event mode are stock matches, so I'm not sure why this one is timed. Honestly, I'm ranking it low because it's a time battle. I just think stock battles are more fun. Spare Change. You fight Captain Falcon as Ness in a coin battle. What's a coin battle, you may ask? Coin battles were the black sheep third kind of Smash Bros. Fight next to time and stock battles. In a coin battle, you fight within a time limit, but instead of competing for the most KOs, you compete for the most coins. When you hit an opponent in a coin battle, coins fly out of them and you pick them up and add them to your stash. The strange thing about coin battles is when coins come out of you, you don't lose them from your total. They just appear. That's weird. Where did they come from? You only lose coins if you get KO'd, and you lose half of them if you do. Coin battles were removed from the game in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, probably because the developers realized that they weren't fun to play, and most players weren't even aware they existed. Coin battles failed because it was too difficult to really control what was going on. The coins didn't feel earned, and losing half the coins was such a big penalty that it really just came down to who got KO'd the least, which made it basically a regular Smash match, but with extra confusing steps. Okay, coin battle tangent over. Back to this event. Yeah, so since coin battles are lame, so is this event. Trouble King. You just fight Bowser as Mario. Since this is the first event, the difficulty is super low. I get the first event being a little simpler and easier than later ones, but I don't really like when they set the difficulty so pitifully easy you're barely even playing. Kirby's on Parade. You fight 3 multicolored small Kirbys who run away. They have 2 lives and you have 1, but they're so easy it doesn't matter. Maybe if you had a time limit, it would have been more challenging. Birds of Prey. You play as Fox and you fight Captain Falcon and Falco. Yeah, there's gonna be a bit of a pattern the next few events where I rank these regular battles lower. My argument against these sorts of events is that you could just go into the regular Smash mode and play this exact match if you wanted to. I think the best event matches are the ones that have elements that cannot be seen anywhere else in the game. And this one certainly does not have that. Jigglypuff Live. You're Jigglypuff, and you fight 3 other Jigglypuffs. That's it. Since it was called Jigglypuff Live, I thought it would have to do with using the Sing attack, but that's not a part of it at all. It's just a regular battle. Super Mario Bros. 2. It's just fighting Mario, Luigi, and Peach. Even though this is a later event, I think they lowered the difficulty since it's 3-on-1. Boring. On Guard. You just fight Link as Marth. Lame. Fire Emblem Pride. You just fight Roy and Marth. 7 years. You just fight Link as young Link. Moving on. Time for a checkup. The description of this one is hilarious. Are routine physicals supposed to hurt this much? Other than that, it's not much more than a 2-on-1 against Dr. Mario and Peach. For some reason, the difficulty is really high on the CPUs here. Not sure if this was intentional or a programming error, but the fact that this is actually really hard makes this more enjoyable. Still kind of a boring event overall, though. Link's Adventure. It's just Link versus Link. The only thing that makes this more interesting than the other regular battles is that it's a Shadow Link, which is not seen anywhere else in the game. But this is merely cosmetic and doesn't change anything gameplay-wise. Bomb Fest. You fight against Link and Samus, who are red and pink for some reason. While this one is interesting since only bomb items and Pokeballs with electrodes spawn, the fact that your opponents are on easy and only use bomb attacks makes this one too much of a cakewalk. Kirby's Air Raid. There's a bunch of yellow Kirbys who can only be hurt by warp stars. I don't deny it's a lot of fun, but it's dreadfully easy, so in the lower ranks it remains. All-Star Match 1. Some events are called All-Star Matches, which have you fight around 5 characters one at a time, each on a different stage. You have 2 stocks, and each of your opponents only have 1. I think they're a nice recurring event, but I can't deny that they are less interesting than some of the other events. All-Star Match 1 is ranked much lower than the other All-Star matches because this first one has its difficulty set so low it ruins the entire experience. Puffballs Unite. Fight a bunch of Kirbys that all have different abilities. This one is a super cool concept, but this is already done in adventure mode. Like what I said about the Game & Watch one, I really don't like the whole lots of enemies, easy kill. And it's even worse here because it kind of ruins the concept of the Kirbys all having different abilities. You kill them so fast, they don't even get to use their unique powers. I think that this would have been a lot better if you fought 2 Kirbys at a time and they didn't die quickly. That way, you'd have a bit more time fighting each individual Kirby ability. Girl Power. You fight Peach, Zelda, and Samus. They each have 2 lives, and so do you. They're also slightly larger than usual and harder to KO. Not sure why Fountain of Dreams is the venue for this one. Maybe it's just because it's not from any of their franchises, so it's neutral ground. I like the concept of this one, but since this is an earlier event, it suffers from low difficulty. Now that I think about it, the low difficulty of the CPUs kind of undermines the feminist message of this event. Like, you really set the girl power CPUs too easy? Pikachu and Pichu. You fight 2 Pichu and a Pikachu. Pikachu perpetually respawns if you knock him out, and you win if you beat both Pichu. Since this is one of the last events, the difficulty is really high. It at least has a gimmick in the respawning Pikachu, but that doesn't have a huge effect on the gameplay. Space Travelers. You have to play as Ness in this one, and you fight 5 enemies: Samus, Kirby, Fox, Captain Falcon, and Falco. Obviously, this is a reference to how in Earthbound Ness fights aliens, and these are the 5 melee characters who are canonically not from Earth. You fight Samus, Kirby, and Fox on 4 side, and then you suddenly teleport to Battlefield to fight Captain Falcon and Falco. I don't really know why this is. I guess Battlefield kind of looks like space, but I have a different theory. I think that they weren't able to reset the enemies after you defeated the first 3 at 4 side, so they had to warp you to another stage to reset your opponents. However, they didn't want to just reload 4 side as that would look really clunky, so they just selected Battlefield instead. With higher development capabilities, I think they would have just had you fight all 5 enemies at 4 side. Also, I have kind of a fun personal story with this one. This event is, in my opinion, the hardest one in the game. Beating all 5 opponents without dying once is a very tall order, especially if you aren't used to playing as Ness. The very reason I main Ness in Smash to this very day is because I had to learn how to play as Ness in order to beat this event back in the day. While this event isn't super remarkable or unique, it will always hold a special place in my heart. All-Star 2. And we're back to the All-Stars. This is where I rank all the All-Stars that have decent difficulty. This one says Nintendo's realistic stars are out in force, which makes you think it's all the, regular people characters, which it does have. It's got Link, Zelda, Samus, and Captain Falcon, but it also has Fox. I'm not sure what's realistic about Fox. All-Star Match 3 is one of the All-Star matches of all time. All-Star Match 4. Why is Game & Watch in this one? Game & Watch is the final unlockable character in the game, yet they put him in the second to last All-Star match. I wonder if they decided later on in development that Game & Watch would be the last unlockable character, and it was after they programmed all of the events. Final All-Star. The last All-Star has you fight the rest of the locked characters. Again, not ending with Game & Watch is odd. Cold Armor. You fight these metal Samuses in Brinstar Depths. It's pretty fun because it makes you play differently. It's a little luck-based as you're more likely to win if the stage spins in your favor. King of the Mountain. Avoid 2 ice climbers for 1 minute and 20 seconds. I appreciate that you have to do something other than just fight your opponent here. I think this one would have been improved if it didn't allow you to select any character you want, because some characters are definitely more suited to win this event than others. Kirby makes this effortless. They should have forced you to play as Bowser instead, as that would have made it more challenging. Triforce Gathering. Fight Ganondorf as Link with Zelda on your team. He has 2 lives while you and Zelda have 1. If Zelda dies, you lose. While this is a bit basic, it has just enough to make it feel like an interesting event match. This is also how you unlock Ganondorf, so this is likely the first time you as the player even see Ganondorf in the game, which adds a bit to the cool factor. One improvement I would have made was to add the Zelda enemies from Adventure Mode. I don't think they would have made it more challenging, but they would have made it more memorable. Quick interruption, then back to the video. Just so you know, I also cover movies and TV shows over on my other channel, Stories Are Meaningful. And I just put out a video analyzing the Super Mario Bros. Movie. You should really check it out. Link in the description. Seconds, anyone? You have to take out Captain Falcon with 100% in 7 seconds. It's not too hard, but I find this one enjoyable just for how unique it is. The fastest way to do it is to play Peach and pull a Bob-omb, which is a 1 in 300 chance. I bet speedrunning event mode would be really stressful because you'd basically have a 299 in 300 chance of straight up losing the run when you get to this event. Slippy's Invention. You fight invisible enemies. Good enough gimmick. There's also a Slippy Toad dialogue box at the beginning that adds just a little bit of uniqueness to this event. Super Mario 128. Fight 128 tiny Marios. I think they shouldn't have let you select any character for this one because it can really easily be cheesed by using Donkey Kong. However, the fact that it can be cheesed is not going to affect its placement in the ranking. If you want to play this event honorably and use a different character, it's actually pretty difficult. I think just the sheer number of Marios and the fact that they're so tiny makes this the most fun of all the lots of enemies that die fast events. The little bits of damage starts to really add up, and towards the end, any wrong move could mean the end. The Yoshi Herd. Another lots of enemies that die fast. While I think Super Mario 128 is more enjoyable, I rank this one higher because the Yoshis avoid you, and there's a time limit, which adds a different level of challenge. Also, since the Yoshis avoid you, you can't cheese it with DK. Pokemon Battle. Fight Pikachu, but only Pokeball Pokemon can damage either of you. I always love the Pokeball in Smash Bros, so an event based around using them is much appreciated. It's pretty challenging too. You have to be good at avoiding the Pokemon your opponent sends out, and you need to find the opening to grab the Pokeballs yourself. Mewtwo Strikes. In this one, you fight Zelda and Mewtwo. Zelda is there from the start, but Mewtwo doesn't spawn for 15 seconds. You only have to defeat Mewtwo, and Zelda respawns if you knock her out. It's pretty difficult. A solid, unique event. Icebreaker. There's 2 ice climbers, but all they do is jump. In order to win, you have to knock out both of their nanas. You're not really fighting the ice climbers, you're more so fighting against the time limit, as you only have so long to take out the nanas. Hide and Sheik. Fight 2 Zeldas, but they only die if you kill them as Sheik. I would have liked it more if it had higher difficulty. This is an earlier event, so their CPU level is pretty low. Lethal Marathon, the only event match that takes place on an adventure mode stage. It's on the F-Zero course where you run across the road and have to jump on platforms to avoid the passing cars. However, unlike the adventure mode stage, this one is sped up. It's super difficult. Not only is the time really strict, but since you're going so fast, it's hard to keep yourself in the right spot. Something funny in this stage is that when you get hit by the cars, you get like 500% damage. Not sure if that's just a side effect of the speed up or if the developers intentionally made them do more damage, but it's hilarious to see. Also, I don't think items are supposed to spawn here, but in my winning attempt, a Pokeball appeared at the end. I didn't have time to pick it up, and it obviously wouldn't have helped me, but I wonder why that happened. Yoshi's Egg. Protect this Yoshi egg from Pikachu, Donkey Kong, and Fox. I thought that was a weird trio at first, but maybe it's because these are animals that eat eggs. I guess foxes probably eat eggs, but do monkeys and mice eat eggs? Is that why it's these opponents? I don't know. I'm not a botanist. While the opponents aren't too hard and they don't target the eggs specifically, since you are on Rainbow Cruise, you have to grab the egg yourself when it gets to the moving platforming area. I love how this event uses the stage against you like that and forces you to not play passively. Final Destination Match. This is the second to last event, although if you're playing for the first time, you probably think it's the last one because it's event number 50. There's actually 51 events. You fight Master Hand and Crazy Hand with 300 HP each, and you've only got 1 life. While you can fight them in classic mode, I think that this event is really the part of the game that encourages you to learn the Master Hand and Crazy Hand attack patterns. One kind of cheesy way to win is to use Yoshi's down air, which does a crazy amount of damage to the hands, but I think it's more fun to fight with honor. Trophy Tussle 1. Trophy Tussle is a kind of recurring melee event where you fight 3 random opponents on top of a model of a trophy. And when you beat it, you win the trophy. While there isn't anything special about your opponents, in fact they're just selected randomly, being different opponents every time you play, what makes Trophy Tussles special is their unique stages that cannot be accessed anywhere else in the game. The lowest ranked Trophy Tussle is Goomba. While I love the idea of fighting on top of a Goomba, the difficulty is a little low here since it's an early event and the Goomba stage isn't as interesting as the other 2 trophies. Trophy Tussle 2. This Trophy Tussle is on top of the Entei trophy. Stage-wise, this is the most basic one. Although I did get this weird programming quirk where this Pikachu just didn't move. Ah, melee. Trophy Tussle 3. While the Majora's Mask trophy makes for a much clunkier stage than Entei or Goomba, that's what makes this the most interesting Trophy Tussle. I want to pose a question about these Trophy Tussles. Do you think they should have let you unlock these as stages? Like, they already made them, so why not let you fight your friends on them? Although, it probably would have looked weird if 3 stages in the game were just models that you fight on top of. And if they were regular stages, it would have made the Trophy Tussle events less special. Let me know in the comments if you think they should have been unlockable, or if they should come back in a future Smash game. Peach's Peril. Protect Peach from a giant Bowser. I like that this is more than just fighting against Bowser. You might get unlucky and Peach will just walk into a bomb or something while you're keeping Bowser away, but hey, that's all a part of the fun. The Showdown, the final 51st event. This is a perfect climax to event mode and is the most iconic moment in all of Melee. You fight against Giga Bowser, Ganondorf, and Mewtwo. While I get the villain's motif, I do have to point out that Mewtwo isn't exactly a villain, they're more morally gray, but he still fits the vibe. It's kind of funny that this final boss consists of 3 characters that are low tier competitively, but the developers didn't know that at the time. This can be really difficult since Giga Bowser hits really hard and you can find yourself overwhelmed by the 3-on-1. There's a cheese strat if you use Jigglypuff since Giga Bowser's massive size makes him really easy to hit with rest. However, if you play honorably, you are in for a formidable final challenge. Bounty Hunters. You play as Samus against Bowser with a Captain Falcon on your team. However, Captain Falcon isn't really on your team, because if Captain Falcon gets the kill on Bowser, you lose. What makes this such an effective event is that your goal isn't to simply just win. You have to focus on something else as well. We really needed more events like this, and fewer that were just regular fights. Legendary Pokemon. Another Pokeball-only event. You go up against a Jigglypuff and 4 wireframe fighters. This is the only event match to actually use the wireframe guys, which is surprising as I think that they could have made some more events with them. The 4 wireframe guys can't pick up the Pokeballs, but Jigglypuff can. The main gimmick of this event is that every Pokeball has a legendary Pokemon inside, or a Wobbuffet. I think the Wobbuffet thing was just so there could be a dud Pokemon that might pop out, or perhaps there was a miscommunication amongst the devs and they just thought Wobbuffet was a legendary. I remember it was so exciting to get a legendary when I picked up a Pokeball in regular matches, so a whole event where you get only legendaries was extremely exciting. There is one thing that irks me about this event. This event unlocks Pichu. The event Legendary Pokemon, which is in a game that has an unlockable character that is a legendary Pokemon, Mewtwo, has you unlock Pichu from that event called Legendary Pokemon. Mewtwo has like the worst unlock criteria of any character in the game, as you need a combined 20 hours of gameplay in versus mode, which in practice just forces you to keep your GameCube on for almost an entire day. Also, Mewtwo and Ganondorf are a part of the final event, and Ganondorf is unlocked in an event match. So wouldn't it have been fitting for both Mewtwo and Ganondorf to be unlocked through event mode because they are part of the final boss? Okay, rant over. Legendary Pokemon is still one of the best events, and it's super fun to play. I did not think that this was going to be number 1 when I was going into making this video, but Target Acquired is truly the most unique, compelling, and fun event in the entire game. You play as Falco against a Jigglypuff, and the Jigglypuff starts with 70%. However, the objective isn't just to defeat the Jigglypuff. No. The objective is to get more KOs on Jigglypuff than the R-Wings, which are those little spaceships that shoot lasers on Corneria. I think that's just brilliant. Your opponent is the stage hazard. It's also plenty challenging as well. All in all, event mode was a joy to come back and revisit. However, I can't deny that I was kind of underwhelmed by a lot of them. Thinking back, you remember the best ones, but when you actually sit down and play them all in a row, you realize how many of them are just regular battles or not that interesting. If only every match was as great as the likes of Pokemon Battle or Target Acquired. We didn't even start talking about events that I would consider above average until about the top 20. Regardless, I still think event mode was an extremely successful and defining element of Super Smash Bros. Melee. To this day, Super Smash Bros. Still does some form of event mode, but none are as iconic as Melee's. In Ultimate, the spirit battles are a lot like the events in Melee, but I think they fell a little flat because 1. They're too focused on using spirits instead of your gameplay skills, and 2. They always are one-stock matches. I hope that the next Smash Bros. Sees a true return to form to something more akin to Melee's event mode, but fully realize, like those top 20-ish, that I think really stood above the rest. In a game like Smash that's all about having the same kind of fights, it's refreshing to have something like event mode that really subverts the regular gameplay. So, what did you think of my list? Are there any you think I was too harsh on? Let me know in the comments below. Hey, if you like this video on Super Smash Bros., maybe you'd like to see this other Smash Bros. Video right here, or check out this other video right here.